We have about 275 children in care, and over 100 of those children, probably in the range of 125 children, are placed outside of Floyd County.
In the state of Georgia have a problem with teen pregnancies, but when you look at the rate for the state and compare it to what we see in Floyd County, we have a bigger problem than the state average.
When you talk about the fact that there's 10,000 kids in our high school and middle schools, 5,000 kids in our high school, and maybe 600 children that have a personal relationship with Jesus, that's alarming.
These are children that are, they don't have dads, they don't have stable families. They are children that need a touch from the Lord and need somebody physically to minister to them that love of God.
The problem very simply exists because of their family situations. It's like one of the counselors told us at the school one time, it's hard to have a place to cook a meal when the stove is busy cooking meth.
To find out how rough it's been for them and the treatment from, or lack of, from their parents, and how foreign that and different from my upbringing.
Just hearing some of the stories about the terrible things that these students have gone through just broke my heart. I could not imagine what it was like to live through some of that.
There's a cycle that will continue to happen and be repeated over and over and over if we don't do something to break that cycle.
Youth for Christ's vision is to raise up lifelong followers of Jesus Christ who lead by their godliness and lifestyle, devotion to the Word of God and prayer, and passion for sharing the love of Christ and commitment to social involvement. And we really sum that up in this statement, every young person, one at a time. In 1945, Youth for Christ began as a movement post-World War II, in which young men coming back from war, young men who were preparing to go to war, and students at that point finding, with all the economic prosperity after World War II, these kids had time. And young men had time, and so there was a need, and a few young men, one of which was Billy Graham, found an opportunity to begin ministering to these teenagers and young men, and that's where Youth for Christ began. And so from 1945 all the way up to the present, Youth for Christ has evolved from ministering to teenagers in post-World War II setting to an international movement where Youth for Christ is not just in the United States, but all across the globe, reaching students from every people group and every nation. Youth for Christ in Rome began in the mid-70s, and so from the mid-70s up to 2009, Youth for Christ has been doing student ministry on our campuses in Rome and Floyd County, and that's an incredible testimony to the work that has happened historically and the work that is going on now.
I've known about YFC for a long time, and I think if someone were to just sit down and say, tell me what YFC is all about, I would say relationships with good examples of people who care, but who also are living a life that would provide a good example for some young people that need that.
Youth for Christ is present because we have been given as followers of Christ a commandment, that's to make disciples of every nation. And so the Great Commission to make disciples of every nation is being lived out in the life of Youth for Christ, and we take that very seriously. Journey is, I think, the heart and soul of what Youth for Christ is about, because it is every young person one at a time epitomized.
I think nearly every single one of the students that I met with, there was a real desire and a real hunger just to talk. And we probably take for granted, or I take for granted at least, the fact that I have friends around me that I can go and have a coffee with and chat with them, or I can sit with my family and sit down and talk with them about my day and the things I'm going through. And I think for some of these students, just being able to have a mentor that they can talk to and just sit down and have a conversation with, it may sound like a simple thing, but it's something that will be a huge blessing to these students if they can just have somebody they trust and they can talk to and open up with.
It's a one-to-one mentor relationship on a high school campus that hopefully leads the kid to make a decision to be a follower of Christ and become part of a local church.
And it's just the easiest thing to do almost. When you really think about it, you're hanging out with a student.
Camp Discover is a week-long overnight camp at Berry College where we get an opportunity to take adoptive and foster kids and expose them to have a fun week, see a different side of life, understand that things don't have to be the way they are. They can get an education. People do love them and care about them, and through making those connections, those kids then have a chance to begin breaking that cycle, and hopefully Camp Discover turns into an effective journey relationship. The numbers vary, but somewhere plus or minus 500 kids in the elementary school level of Floyd County do not get to eat on the weekends. In a place such as Floyd County, there's really not an excuse for a kid not being able to eat. There are far too many resources, and so we want to take those resources and feed them. Hope Springs, which is our ministry to foster kids, it's a home that exists to serve students who need a mom and dad, and to give them an environment where they can hear the good news of Christ, where they can learn life skills, and have the experience of a loving family, and be trained for life after they graduate from high school. Guys and Girls Night Out, it looks like taking students from a campus, bringing them to our facility where they have a good time with some folks who want to love on them, and they hear the scriptures explained to them.
We meet after school, and we play a lot of games, and we'll do Bible studies and really find other ways to get into their lives.
Suit Yourself is an opportunity for parents of foster kids and foster kids to have high quality clothes.
Youth for Christ in Rome is not done alone. You can support us in many ways. The number one way you can support us is through prayer. We cannot survive without the prayers of God's people, and that's you. YFC always needs volunteers. We have a folder in our office that is asking for mentors. We have probation officers asking us for mentors. We have a list of students who are crying out saying, I want somebody to love me and to tell me that God cares.
And it's that one-on-one thing that really makes the difference in their lives.
If there's going to be one reason, is that you get the biggest opportunity you'll ever have to minister to somebody.
We desperately need people just to send out mailers, just to fold sheets and lick envelopes. We desperately need people to participate in our golf scrambles, to help volunteer putting signs out, at the fundraiser, dinner.
Other ways you can join us is financially. We can't run this alone. We can't do this alone. We need you. And you may not be able to walk into a school campus and sit down at a lunch table and make a conversation with a student. You may not be able to hang out at camp and stay up all night. You may not be able to show up for a day where we're packing bags, but you can say, God has provided me money, and I need to be diligent with His money and resourceful with the talents that He's given me. Will you join us in making this ministry happen?